so we're going to talk about essential documents, what they are, what the expectations are for them, who is responsible for them, and we'll talk about building them. They are a huge part of good clinical practice, of course, but how do we make sure we have credible data? So this is just a background about me. It makes me sound really scary, but I have been involved in clinical research for well over 20 years, involved as an auditor and a trainer, and I did site level work in terms of being a program coordinator. So I am bringing a lot of experience to this and a lot of evolution or the ability to assess what's happened over the last 20-some years and how we look at essential documents. So we're going to talk about the investigational product development process and the role of documentation. Look at roles and responsibilities during study document development, as well as handling and retention, and talk about the importance of study files and essential documents, including the review of any inspection findings. Hopefully there are none, but you have multiple handouts for this course. So as we go through, we'll link to some of those, but just to be aware, I'm familiar with them too. They can be incredibly useful, but certainly ICH E6 R2, this was updated in November of 2006. A lot of folks are still not aware of it, but it does give us some more clarity around expectations for essential documents. We also have a handout where the FDA has adopted, if you will, ICH E6 R2. The Compliance Program Guidance Manual 7348.810 and 7348.811, these are how the FDA conducts their inspections of sponsors, CROs, monitors, and clinical investigators. So this Compliance Program Guidance Manual, the CPGM, we also have 809, 7348.809 for IRBs, and if you're in BA/BE studies, we would have 0.003 and 0.004. Just to be aware of those. And again, they walk through the expectations, the FDA's expectations for engaging with us when they come and do an inspection. We also have the investigators' responsibilities that was finalized in October of 2009. Frequently asked questions about the Form FDA 1572, financial disclosure information, and all of these things that we're discussing include and incorporate information about essential documents like financial disclosure forms and 1572s. So we also see a 1572, keeping in mind, I think that your handout actually has the most current one from expiration in 2022. FDA Guide for Informed Consent and Information Sheet, recruitment, payment, and inspections. So something to be aware of is that the FDA, for the most part, is going to share information with us in terms of what their expectations are. So those compliance program guidance manuals, as I said, they're really the FDA's SOPs for how they approach these inspections. Be aware of them, be familiar with them, assess your own systems against them. So what we're going to talk about is the investigational product development process and the role of documentation to support that. So as a sponsor, the two largest burdens or tasks that you carry really from the FDA standpoint is to provide credible data to support your safety and efficacy endpoints and making sure that that data is obtained from individuals whose rights, safety, and welfare are protected. We think about clinical research. I come from a lab background, and when I moved into clinical, I started kind of appreciating that what we are looking at with all of this documentation is having a giant laboratory notebook. We're keeping track of everything that happens so that when the FDA comes in to quote unquote grade us, they can see what we did. We are showing our work, if you will. And we get that reproducibility, which is what we're ultimately trying to do. We're trying to support the public's health, get a product out there so that individuals who take that product are going to get similar results. They may not have the same constraints as the eligibility criteria that we have in clinical research, but in medical practice and standard of care, we know that we can use this product and expect certain things. So documentation, and certainly the FDA, we're all driven by documentation. FDA likes to say, if it's not documented, it's not done. So we're protecting the health and safety of consumers. That's what the FDA is focused on. They are a public health agency by ensuring that the products that they regulate are safe and effective. And they can only do that if we are giving them information to support that. credible, verifiable information. They enforce the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. We are in a highly regulated industry, so it's important that we are familiar with those regulations. And we are gathering that information, providing it to all stakeholders, so that ultimately when it gets to the FDA, they can give us feedback on whether we can move forward or not with that product. We're focusing in this course on drugs, biologics, and medical devices, keeping in mind that the FDA also looks at other things such as food, supplements, veterinary medicines, etc.